Welcome to Milestone Moments, the show where we explore the journeys that lead to success. I'm Sheila Slick, your host and founder of 5 Milestones. In every episode, we will bring you insights from the minds of entrepreneurs, leaders, and experts who will share not just their expertise, but the milestone moments that have reshaped their journeys and led to significant achievements. So if you're looking for motivation, you're in the right place. Subscribe now and discover the milestones that mark the path to success. Welcome to another episode of Milestone Moments in Business and Leadership. I'm Sheila Slick, your host, and today my special guest from Japan is Annabelle Sugimoto. She is a multilingual AI consultant and educator. Annabelle holds a master's degree in linguistics and computer science, and she has many years of experience in AI and NLP. She uses her skills to bridge the gap between technical AI concepts and practical business solutions. Annabelle creates training initiatives and AI-driven strategies that empower businesses to embrace digital transformation. She basically makes artificial intelligence approachable for all. Welcome to the show, Annabelle.
Thank you very much, Sheila. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the very kind introduction.
So I'm thrilled to actually be able to have you on the show and talk about AI. So you have a master's degree in linguistics. Maybe you can help explain that to me. I totally understand that with computer science, you have the ability to program. So how did you get to where you are today with AI if AI is still kind of new, right? It's just disrupting.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's disrupting rather than growing very naturally. But that's what I've tried to do. I began studying linguistics and moved into computer science later in the degree. And from there, went into AI roles, kind of basic things that connected linguistics and AI, and moved from there trying to evolve with the skills I had. So it's brought me to combining teaching experience with AI experience, some consulting experience, and now here I am consulting with AI.
So linguistics, can you help me understand that?
It's the study of languages. It's a very broad field. I was working in historical linguistics, actually, of Old English, Beowulf, that kind of thing. But I shifted. I felt like I wasn't moving forward there. The natural language processing really inspired me to move forward.
So it's human language and now computer language, AI language, correct?
Yes, exactly, and finding the middle ground.
Now help me understand NLP.
So NLP stands for natural language processing, and that's what the bridge is there. It's linguists who study human languages also helping computers to understand human languages and to throw it back at us.
Okay, so now that I understand, you're a pro with computers, but you also are a pro with human language. And today you're bridging that gap. So, what are the top 3 challenges that you see individuals, whether they're professionals or small businesses, are having with this adaptation to AI?
So I'd say the top 3 ones involve misconceptions, really. So the idea that AI will replace jobs really frightens people. It puts them off trying to involve it in any way, when really it's there to enhance what we do already, to automate repetitive tasks and free up time for the important things like strategy, which small businesses really need to focus on. That's their focus as they grow, and AI can help free up time for that. Second, the idea that AI is only for big tech companies. It helps small businesses save time and it increases efficiency, which is so important when you've not got huge groups of people to throw time and money at pointless tasks. And finally, the idea that you need a whole tech team to begin with AI. There are no code tools which exist. It's so accessible if you take the right approach. So the takeaway would be that small businesses can begin by finding small pain points and addressing those, finding some confidence with AI, and then going and building on that.
What are 3 solutions that someone should immediately implement in their business?
Well, I'd say the first solution is about bridging the AI literacy gap. What I do is not about turning everyone into a programmer. It's about helping people to understand what AI is and just getting a basic foundation in that on a really simple level. What it is and what it does is a great first step. The next step would be to find what the pain points are specifically within your team. Again, that's something I help with in consultations, finding out what are the repetitive tasks, the time-consuming things, and making an effort to find what tools you can find making an effort to find which tools are necessary for your team and not pushing tech for the sake of it, but finding the necessary items. A final thing is beginning slowly. Throwing things in to companies across the board, automating everything. The biggest thing is that it's scary. If you're not comfortable with it, it's really off-putting and it can feel like jobs are being replaced and all of those big scary phrases that are out there across LinkedIn. No one's going to have a job in 2 years' time. It's just not true, but you need to get comfortable with it to understand that.
What will happen if we don't get out of our comfort zones and begin to adapt some of these technologies in our businesses? And how quickly do we need to do so?
Well, the timeline is beyond my expertise. Things change so quickly that it could be next week, it could be 10 years. No one really knows because things are exponentially changing and evolving. That's what you also need to do. Teams and businesses need to evolve with AI. And instead of fearing the change, using it as an opportunity to redefine what they do and what their roles are within the company. Finding the gap where things can be used and applying AI. It's so necessary, and those repetitive tasks will be done by people who will feel like they're robots already, and it's not necessary. Those people doing unnecessary things can go off and really use their skills in unique ways. They won't be replaced in that sense. They won't lose a job entirely. So they really need to adapt. Businesses can't just watch it happen. Industries are being completely changed and shifted. And you can't avoid that, unfortunately.
I'm seeing it a lot being used in sales, right? We've got these automated bots that will reply on your behalf. Sometimes I do feel you're able to spot them, right? We're not there yet. Customer service. I'm trying to talk to agent, talk to human agent because they're not quite there yet. And so it becomes more frustrating from the end user. I have also seen it in accounting where you no longer have to handwrite all of your invoices and your expenses. That can all be automated from the very moment that you send out an estimate. And I've seen that workflow and that process, and I've implemented some of these. But beyond that, what other examples can you give me where you think you can implement and take that step today simply by starting with this one task that you can automate?
There are some really simple things depending on what you need within your team. Things like creating meeting notes, creating simple content for a web page or a social media. Small things that people without coding can just plug into ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, some of these new things that are coming out, and see what it spits out. I'd say another one, which works very well, is organizing the workflow. There are things like Zapier, which can help organize a workflow and sort out those repetitive tasks, which don't need any training at all. It's generative AI, but not in the same way people think necessarily. It's more about helping with workflow, being a tool that assists people. So it's something that people can use rather than something which is affecting the people.
I pronounce it Zapier, not Zapier. I'd have to look. Well, since you're linguistics, you can probably correct me if I'm saying it wrong, but that's actually the first time I wanted to explore my first automation was setting up some zaps. The problem was that what I had wanted to do, the output required some tweak. So instead of just saying, if this happens and that happens, I needed to then take a few steps to clean up the text before it happened. And those conditional statements that we learn, back when we're in school in math, if this happens, then that happens, is part of being able to use these apps. And I don't know if it's not in your comfort zone. What would you say would be a good tool to start getting comfortable using software like Zapier?
That is the thing. The reason people like me exist is partly to introduce AI and introduce some of those concepts of conditional formatting and how to phrase what you want to get the right thing back. Putting in the prompts it's something humans need to do. It's why there needs to be someone on this end. But it's really important and has a big effect on what comes out at the end of it. And a little bit of training or research into how they work and in which areas the AI is a little bit stupid, basically. It's not as genius as people would make out. It's a little bit stupid. You need to help it out a little bit. Phrase things how it wants to hear it.
I agree. I describe it like a calculator. We can give you a scientific calculator, we can give you a 99-cent calculator, but the output's only going to be as good as the input. If you put 2 plus 2, but you meant to put in 2 times 2, you're going to get 2 completely different answers. And it's fascinating when I see, how people put in different prompts. So even though you can tell the ChatGPT, you're going to act like my teacher or my consultant, answer these questions, it really doesn't dig down because it doesn't know a lot of the terminology perhaps that professional has. So I think we still have that advantage that, that output will really depend on the quality of the input.
Yeah, that's really important. I've written a couple of blog posts on my website to do with different types of prompts and how they can achieve different things. And it's really interesting to look into. It's fascinating. The same as talking to a person in the sense that if you phrase something just a little bit differently, they'll come out with a different answer.
So before we wrap this up, can you think of 3 AI concepts that we should all be familiar with? Maybe those intro concepts that you introduce to the people that you help?
Okay, so if we begin with pinpointing the repetitive tasks, it's a really important place to start, finding areas that are really prime for automation. Then, as I mentioned earlier, the idea of starting small and expanding, just in one small area, like the meeting notes or content creation, to get comfortable. And then investing in literacy is a first step that it takes some impetus to decide that it's important, but investing to help the business and the team members understand and get some confidence and apply the AI strategically.
So, what is your next milestone?
Well, you've been focusing on self leadership in this series. And in terms of self leadership, what I've been doing recently is just stopping and saying, I'm doing something I really enjoy and I can continue with the way I'm working now. So I'm enjoying just continuing to bridge the gap between AI and businesses. And the next goal is expanding on that consulting work, making AI literacy accessible for businesses of all sizes. And I've been exploring developing some structured technical training programs, but that's in the works. I prefer working more in a more niche way, individual to the teams.
Yes, I have been focusing a lot on the self leadership. So, throughout my life, I feel that at different phases, different stages of my life, I've done complete transformations, whether it's been in an industry as an entrepreneur. I have worked in 3 or 4 different industries. And I even learned how to code at 36. And I didn't go back to school to learn coding, but I certainly was hitting myself over the head because I thought, wow, I did business. We've been entrepreneurs for over 4 generations. That's what I knew, but maybe I should have studied the future, which was computer science. But sometimes you can say you don't know what you don't know. And that ignited a fire in me to leverage technology. That's why I absolutely love what you're doing with the education, because when you're able to simplify these complex topics, you're really empowering people to not fear that technology and to say, yeah, I can do it. It's in my control. Can grasp the AI. I just don't know where it's going to be in 10 years and what I need to do to prepare for it. And so self leadership means that instead of letting the external forces forge your new path, that it's within you. You're able to control your life and do what you need to do to make sure that you stay relevant. And that is personally, professionally, and in business. So with the self leadership, I myself have been for a few months revisiting everything I've done, bringing my pillars together. And I really think that in these unprecedented times of change, that we're going to have to lead ourselves first and better, not only to just survive, but to thrive.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like you're coming from a great place of understanding concept. It's the same as what I did. I began working in a corporate role with AI, and every few months I was told, no, you need to make this in a different language. No, this needs to be adapted, and we don't have the money for it. So go to the higher ups and explain in depth what this precise tool does, and try to get them to give us money to work more on it. And I half the time I just didn't understand what I was doing. I was putting in words and numbers and hoping I got the right thing out. Because it was working on a surface level, but it just went so quickly and changed too much that I felt the really important thing was that if everyone just knew the basic concepts of AI, we could communicate between the tech teams and the higher ups. The professionals in the boardroom would know what's going on. Everyone could understand each other. And then it's for programmers still to do the programming, but everyone can have a good discussion around it. and people in different departments don't need to understand everything. But if they have the concepts, then it can really help everyone thrive.
You offer your workshops and your training online so people can connect with you.
I work almost exclusively online. But platforms like Zoom or Google Meets or Microsoft Teams, any of these different platforms, whatever works best. You can book a consultation on my website if you're curious about how AI can help your team. Initial consultations are important. It's the first step, and they're right there on my website.
I will leave your website information in the description so that anyone that wants to reach out to Annabelle can do so. And I want to thank you, Annabelle, for joining me today and taking time out of your day or night to help educate us on the concepts of AI.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor to be on.
And thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Milestone Moments in Business and Leadership. And my key takeaway out of this episode is embrace change.